He's responsible for everything except one thing, and that's his wife. Well, he's very young, very strong, very good looking, very smart. And the wife goes, I think I'd like to get to know this guy a little better. And so she tries to lure him in with her seductive powers, but he won't have any part of it because he said, you know, that's not my job. I'm not here to do that. It's not my job. So the wife gets angry because he doesn't want anything to do with her, and she changes the story around and says that he tried to attack her and he gets thrown in prison. Okay, so he's been in the pit, he's been sold, then he's been bought, then he had a pretty good, you know, he didn't let that bother him. He just went about his life doing, you know, doing what he knew how to do. And now, all of a sudden, he's in prison. So, what am I going to do now? He's in prison. So, while he's in there, the wine steward and the chief baker from the court are put in prison because they made the Pharaoh mad. So, all of a sudden, these two guys one night, they have a dream. And so they're not sure what it means, but Joseph interprets the dream for them and says, you know, one of you is going to be restored to your position, and unfortunately, this other guy, you're not going to be restored to your position. So, all right. Well, a couple days go by, and they're both taken out of the dungeon, and one of them, the wine steward, is returned to his position, but the chief baker is executed. So, the interpretation of the dream was true. The thing that Joseph had asked was, please remember me when you go back to the court and tell those high-ranking officials that I'm here and that I interpreted those dreams for you and helped you out. But they forget all about that. The wine steward forgets all about it. The chief baker, there's nothing we can do for him. So, life goes on. He's down there in the jail for a couple of years. And all of a sudden, the Pharaoh has these reoccurring dreams. And the dream is that one day, there's 7 really nice looking, you know, hardy animals, cattle that come out of the river. And then there's 7 real scrawny, bony animals that come out. And the scrawny, bony cattle eat the fat cattle. And he just can't figure out what the heck that means. So the wine steward overhears the Pharaoh talking about this. And he goes, wait a minute, there's this guy down in the dungeon, and he can interpret dreams. So they bring him up. Now, all this time, he's just been kind of biding his time, and there again, he put his talents to work. And while he was down in the dungeon, the jailer saw that, hey man, this guy's capable of doing stuff, and he's pretty trustworthy. So pretty soon, he's in charge of all the prisoners down there practically. So when he gets called up, it's like, boy, out of the dungeon. So there he is, he's up there, and the Pharaoh tells him his dream. He interprets it, and he says, well, because you've kept having this same dream over and over again, this is really going to happen. There's going to be 7 really good years when you're going to be able to grow a lot of crops and be very prosperous, but that's going to be followed by 7 years of drought, which is going to be terrible. And if you don't save back grain and food from this prosperous time, when the drought comes, you're all going to die. Well, the Pharaoh listened to him and took his advice. So, lo and behold, everything's being prosperous, so they start putting the grain away, and Joseph is doing his job, and the Pharaoh is admiring him, and he gets elevated to like second in command. The only one that's got more power than him is the Pharaoh. So, all of a sudden, the good years are over and the bad years come. So, everybody's hungry, but guess who's got all the food? Got all the food in the city here. So, the father of the boys, Jacob, says, go and get us something to eat. So they show up in the city, and they don't recognize Joseph, but he recognizes his brothers. And so he I look at it as he kind of gave him a bad time. You know, I thought he was playing kind of dirty with them, and you know, he was telling them they could do this or they could do that, and if this happened, and really he was just trying to show them the error of their ways. So he put a lot of demands on them. If you know, he sold them the grain. Oh, but when you come back, you have to bring your young. He collected all kinds of information about the family, and was the father still alive, and so he was just trying to get them to be aware of what they had done. But he didn't tell them who he was at first. And so this goes on for a while. So at one point in the story, he does reveal himself to them. And he says, I'm Joseph. I'm your brother. And they're like, what? But he had treated them with compassion. And he had treated them with love because they were his family. And, oh, so let's see what happens if we're going to look for love. Where do we find love? Love is somewhere. Where's love? Love is the only house big enough for all the pain in the world. Oh. It's back here. Not a loved one, but it says, to me, all beings are the same. I hate none, and no one is more dear to me than the other. Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. So he forgives his brothers, and he forgives them. He doesn't actually forgive them. I mean, he does, but his idea is that all along this was meant to happen. All along I was meant to be here before you, and I was meant to be raised to this position, and I was here, and we created all this stockpile of food, and now I'm able to help you this way. And he didn't even charge them for the food. He had people put their money back in the bags, so when they got out of town and when they opened the bags, there was this money in there, and they thought, oh no, now we're going to get in trouble because they think we stole the money back. But that wasn't what he was doing. He was just making sure that they had enough to live and survive on. So in the end, the family is reunited, and Joseph never let those circumstances get in his way. Though they never let it get him down, never let it held him down. He just held his head up high. And how did he do that? He did that through his faith. And the different people along the way, like when he interpreted those dreams for the Pharaoh said, "Oh my goodness, what a powerful, you know." Of course, everybody had a god then. You know, it was like a mayor of a town. All the little cities and countries and everything, they all kind of worshiped something different. But they thought, "Oh man, the God you worship is so powerful." So they just bowed down to him and just, you know, But that's how he got there, through his faith and through his belief. He didn't let things get him down. And that's what we need to do, is not let the circumstances of our life get us down or push us down. If something happens, we need to just forgive. Is it really forgiving, or are we giving love and saying, you know, no matter what happens, I love you guys anyway. So, all kinds of great stuff. Here's one. Learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb. Pythagoras said that. Who would have thought he said that? I know him for the Pythagorean theory. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here's another good one. Oh, now this person here. The only way to deal with the future is to function efficiently in the now. Oh, isn't that great? And first time I ever met this person, has anybody ever heard this name? Geta Bellin. She's an amazing woman. Global transformation. She's an advanced spiritual practitioner. She's got a lot of knowledge. I ran into a lot of her stuff. So if we're talking about what we can do now and being in the now, confine yourself to the present. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Don't worry about what's happening tomorrow. Confine yourself to the present. And that was said by a guy named Marcus Aurelius. Now, I had no idea who he was, so I Googled him. And would you believe it? He was an ancient Roman emperor. Who'd have thunk? Not me. So let's see, any more? Oh, look. I'm so glad it's Easter. I'm glad I brought my casket too. All right, so here we go. Oh, which one to open first? I think I'll do this one. Oh, I'm going to have to save this one. No, I have to read it now. It says, let there be more joy and laughter in your living. And Eileen Caddy said that, and she wrote that, and God spoke to me. Great, good stuff. And last but not least, inner peace can be reached only when we practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is the letting go of the past and is therefore the means for correcting our misperceptions. And Gerald Jampolsky said that in love is letting go of fear. So, is forgiveness forgiveness? Is forgiveness love? I don't know. For me, it works that way. It's hard to, if you walked up to someone and said, okay, well, I love you for, losing all that money for me, You don't normally say it that way. We normally say, I forgive you. But it means the same thing to me. And so, here we are, Easter Sunday. My basket's not quite full, but hopefully you too will live and forgive. And say with me.